Hello, welcome to a special edition of The Parish Line, a production of CGov, the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel, about the events, programs, and policies of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. In this special program, we'll take a look back at 2010 in review and highlight some of the best and most important stories that we covered on The Parish Line. We'll look back at the refurbishing of the giant copper dome atop the 1912 Calcasieu Parish Courthouse. We will review when residents need a permit as we visit the Parish Permit Office. And we'll revisit a crackdown on construction debris and litter. First, one of our favorite stories of 2010 was first shown in September when we learned about a special program the Office of Juvenile Justice Services implemented geared for dogs and teens in trouble. Here's Margaret Higgins.
Troubled teens and homeless pets may not seem to be a good combination, but for some, it could be a new beginning. Anthony Celestine, director of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury Juvenile Detention Center, gives us an inside look on a very special program that brings teens and rescued dogs together.
It's a collaboration between the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury's Office of Juvenile Justice Services, Animal Services, and the Humane Society, the Southwest Louisiana chapter. And what it is a rehabilitation and training program for rescued dogs that are rescued by the Animal Services and are hand-selected to come here and train on basic obedience with the kids in the Juvenile Detention Center.
Beth Silbert, volunteer for the Humane Society and director of the People's Advocate, tells us more.
So the project is based on the Animal Planet Cell Dogs project, and we came up with the name called New Leash on Life. And the dogs come to us from the animal shelter, and they come, as you can see, they live here at the Juvenile Detention Center with the kids, who then are selected. They volunteer, and then they have to go through a selection process after they volunteer to then care for, rehabilitate, and train these dogs, and they're responsible for them 24/7 until the dog gets adopted.
Juveniles are screened and must meet a certain criteria to participate in the program.
Namely, they need to be here in excess of 29 days. They can not have any type of past adjudications dealing with animal violence. They also have to have the right temperament to work with the animals. And those criteria, amongst a few other things, basically tied in with behavior in the facility, will determine who we will select to work with the animals.
Kelly Taylor, Programs Coordinator for the Juvenile Detention Center, Office of Juvenile Justice Services, explains the selection process and what is expected.
The selection process that we use to match the children to the dog training program is we have a team of members from the detention center that staff daily, which consists of Mr. Celestine, the Director of Detention Services, and also our detention counselor and our detention nurse and several other members of the detention, and we'll staff which child is best suited for this program. You know, what will help them also, if there's some of them that are shy, might bring them out of their shell, or if they need to learn how to take care of someone or something like that. It's a very simple process, but we do take it very seriously because this is not only for the child but for the safety of the dogs. They go out 3 times a day. In the morning, they'll go out before school and they'll feed and clean the cage. In the afternoon, they'll play with them, bond with them, train them.
Sally Stride, professional dog trainer, talks about the type of training used in this program.
We do all positive reinforcement techniques, which means we don't use any choke collars, any pinch collars. We don't even force the dog into a sitting position or pull it down into a down position. We basically use a lot of treats or toys, anything that the dogs will work for, and then reward them for the correct behavior. And we found this with kids in particular. We'll teach them patience and teach them that life isn't about instant gratification, and you do need patience to get out of life what you want. And so the dogs also respond a lot better to that. There's no negativity as far as the kids go or as far as the dogs go. So it teaches everybody patience.
Beth gives us the details on how the dogs are selected.
We test them. It's actually a very, very simple process. Our volunteer trainer, Sally Stride, does a number of little tests that she does on their temperament, sort of pulling ears, pulling tail, touching their paws to make sure that they can handle being pet. She has them around each other. She throws food down and makes sure that there's no problem. And then the last test, I am proud to say I developed, which is called the Moron test. And that's the one where you go and you hug the dog with your face right in the dog's face. I'm the one that has to do that, hence the name the Moron test, because if I'm wrong, I should be the one to face those consequences. But that's the last test, because the magic that happens when the kids first come on this project and they realize that I'm here in the detention center, but you mean I get to play with dogs? And that magic in that first 30 seconds, it's almost hard to sort of stop the kids from doing their own version of the Moron test. So that's why I do it first, make sure there's no problem.
So what are the end results from this program?
We've seen just much blessings for the kids here in the detention center. It's given them more self-worth. They've actually learned to care for somebody other than themselves. And whether it's an animal or a human, they're still benefiting from the interaction. So it's a positive for us in every direction.
The New Leash on Life program has been successful for both juveniles and dogs. To date, 45 dogs have been adopted because of this program. For the Parish Line, I'm Margaret Higgins.
Zilbert reminds us that it may not be a good idea to try the Moron test at home. For more information on the new Leash on Life program or how you can adopt one of these special dogs, call Tony Celestine or Kelly Taylor at the Office of Juvenile Justice Services at 721-3900. When do you need a permit for a project at your home? The permit office at the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury receives dozens of calls every month asking that question. Jessica Conrad helps to answer it with a visit to the permit office.
The permit office provides permits as well as help, from planning new construction to remodeling a home or business to demolition of structures. The permit office works with citizens across the parish to maintain a safe community. Citizens, as well as government and private agencies, use the records the permit office holds as a source of information.
Not for just your obvious reasons, such as your health and safety and of the structures that you're going to be living and working in, but yes, for property value reasons, for state and federal funding. Oftentimes, people will use the permit office as a base for record keeping. Insurance companies use this all the time. State and federal agencies will call our offices. Lending, mortgage companies will call our office for records.
While the permit office is a source of record keeping, it is up to each individual to contact the office to determine if a permit is necessary for a project.
Permits are required for most anything that you do as far as development goes. We're talking any type of new construction, residential, commercial, industrial, any type of remodeling project that you may have, if you're remodeling the interior of your home or business. Also, if you're adding on to your home or adding on to a business or storage building, all of those need permits. Workshops, things of that nature also. If you're doing any electrical work, if you're upgrading your panel box on the inside, your circuit breaker box, if you are rewiring your home, if you're changing out plumbing, not necessarily fixtures. If you're changing a sink or a toilet, we're not so much interested in that sort of thing. But if you're actually changing the piping to those, we're definitely going to want to see that.
Along with construction projects, moving a mobile home requires a permit from the permit office.
If you are replacing one manufactured home with another, or if you're moving a home and you're replacing it with a manufactured home, you'll need to get a permit prior to. Even if you move your manufactured home from one place on your property to another spot on your property, on the same piece, you still have to get a permit from our office.
When planning any type of project that may require a permit, it is best to call the office first to make sure you have everything that's needed before you come in.
Call first or visit our website, which will give you a checklist that you can pull up. It's very easy. New residences, manufactured homes. Basic information, though, for obtaining a permit is usually your legal description of your piece of property, health unit approval for any type of sewer system that you are wanting to install or tie into, a good site plan, something hand-drawn, it doesn't have to be professionally done, showing where the proposed structure is going to be and any existing structures that are on the property, storage buildings, workshops, where your driveway access is, property lines, width and depth of your property. This gives us a good idea of what is out there, where it's going to be placed, so that we can make sure that your setbacks are going to be met. Those are all things that we look for. Once you come in with all the documentation that we need to permit, we'll enter it into our computer system as a pending application. We'll submit your plans, commercial, residential, into plans review. Once we get everything back from the plans reviewer, permit officer finishes up entering everything into the permit. Customers called. We give them a total on the permit cost and come on in and pick it up.
For the Parish Line, I'm Jessica Conrad.
The staff at the permit office is available to answer any of your questions. The office is open Monday through Friday during normal business hours. Back in May, we highlighted one of the biggest and most notable construction projects for the parish during 2010, the restoration of the ornate copper dome high atop the historic Calcasieu Parish Courthouse. It was fully restored this year after sustaining serious damage in Hurricane Rita. The two-year project involved removing nearly all of the copper lining of the structure, repairing and reshaping the still usable portions, and then placing a combination of old and new copper on the dome structure. Ellender Architects of Sulphur spearheaded the project, which was paid for through insurance and FEMA funding. Now the classic structure is back to its original condition.
After the hurricane, major renovations were required, and we were pleased that the parish allowed us to do this. This is a very famous building in our area, a 1912 courthouse designed by Favreau and Livaday out of New Orleans. And this building, some people may not know, this is a replica of a major development in Italy, and it was designed by Andre Palladio, who is well known as an architect back maybe in the 17th and 18th centuries.
Well, Rita came through with all of her fury, a lot of wind and stuff, and there were many pieces of the copper and stuff that made up the roof, all of the ornamental stuff. Many pieces were damaged, they were twisted, some of which had blown off. They were recovered and basically put in a position to where we could begin using those to reshape and stuff to put back on the roof once we started the project. We began by removing all of the old copper roof off and removing all of the rest of the ornamental copper off, the trim, the various decorative pieces, and then after which they were carried over to another location to where we began a refurbishing and reconditioning process. And while that was taking place, we began to remove the old copper roof off and expose the existing deck that was beneath. While that process was going on, they were back at the shops reconditioning, resoldering, putting everything back together. There were molds made because many of the pieces were actually damaged beyond repair. So we took the copper off of the old roof, cut it into squares, and we shaped those across the molds to make new pieces to put on the roof. And then once the new standing seam roof was in place, we began reattaching all of the old original copper pieces and all the ornate trim and everything that goes back on, and then began the patina process. It's a chemical process that is applied to the roof. It's basically an accelerant, and it accelerates that color process and gets it to that familiar green that we were so used to. So to get the color matched, it was a very long process.
The height of the dome structure, plus its unusual shape, made the physical aspects of the repair project quite complicated.
Well, the base of the flagpole, which represents the top of the dome, is approximately 85 feet off the ground. And with the dome being a segmented dome, it's only curved in one direction. Actually, when you look at it and view it from the top, it's an octagon. It's octagonal shaped. So they had to construct their scaffolding in a stepped fashion in an octagonal pattern. So it was a real challenge, and to stabilize that and the working platform that they needed for that elevation, it was tough. And there was a lot of days that it was very blustery up there. So working with those big sheets of copper and forming that to fit that curved roof was a real challenge for them.
The highly specialized copper work meant only a few firms in the entire country were capable of handling the project. Parish officials and the architects had high praise for the contractors.
We also had the Associated Design Group out of Lafayette that we've worked together with for a number of years, and Charles Ladner, our structural engineer here in Lake Charles. And then we were very pleased, and we were able to write specs that limited the work to people that have done major restoration across the country, particularly with domes and things of this nature. And the MCT group out of Katy, Texas, Mr. Cousins and his son, sort of a father and son team, took great pride in this and took a good while to do it, but did it very correctly.
It's very unique. It's the only one in the area, of course, and something for the parish to be really proud of, to have that sitting atop the courthouse. It's very, very unique, and just thoroughly enjoyed working on it.
The structure of the dome was reinforced so that hopefully it will withstand the winds of another hurricane like Rita. The courthouse, which is on the National Register for Historic Places, will celebrate its 100th birthday in 2012. You are watching a special 2010 In Review edition of the Parish Line, a production of CGov, the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel, about the events, programs, and policies of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. Free homeownership classes with face-to-face and group financial counseling are being offered through a HUD-certified housing counseling agency here in Calcasieu Parish. Molly Morgan has more.
Not all dreams are impossible, but owning your own home is a dream that can come true. Residents in the 5-parish area can get help with owning their own home through the Calcasieu Parish Housing Counseling Agency. HUD-certified housing counselor Deborah Tate explains how that dream can come true.
It's called the Housing Counseling Agency that was approved through HUD this year, March of this year, to become a housing counseling agency. And what we're doing is assisting people with credit and budgeting, and also first-time home buyers educational class, which we will be having several of those coming up in the next year. They can go to our webpage, which is Calcasieu Parish, which is www.cppj.net, and go to the housing department, and underneath the housing department is the housing counseling agency, which we have quite a bit of information there that they can kind of like look at and play with different tools that we have in that area.
Classes are open to anyone interested in becoming a first-time homeowner.
There is no income base or guideline that we have. We wanted to make sure that it was open to the public, and there is no fee for the counseling. We do one-on-one counseling in this area, and it's for Calcasieu Parish, Cameron, Beauregard, and Allen. All they need to do is just contact our office, and we'll be able to set up an appointment.
Is this a requirement from the lending agencies or for individuals who want or need financial help?
It's both ways, because a lot of the banks are requiring that they have a certification of completion from the first-time homebuyers education. And we also have people that are just interested in getting help cleaning up their credit and also setting up budgets. So, like I said, it's open to everybody, and anyone is welcome to contact our office, and we'll be able to help them.
Funding for this program comes from several sources.
We are applying for grants, and at this particular time we are using funds from our Disaster Housing Assistance Program, which allow us to work with clients that have been under the FEMA program. You know, people that have been through disasters can qualify for the program.
Local businessman Brad Evans was on hand to educate first-time home buyers.
Wanted to offer my services in any kind of way possible with helping homeowners understand credit, or future homeowners understand credit in the home buying process. There's a real big hinge on really having a credit score where it needs to be in order to purchase that home.
Before going to a lending agency, there are several things you'll need to know.
When you go to a bank now, that's the number one thing we're looking at is credit, your income documents, and also too, if you qualify for these different grant programs, you have to have a home buyer's training certificate, or you can't qualify. Like, you have to have this. This is the first step. If anybody wants to look at buying a home, anybody wants to look at getting any type of grant programs, Federal Home Loan Bank, Southern University, City of Lake Charles money, any type of CDBG grants, anything that you're going to be getting some type of money, you have to go through a home buyer's training class to get that certificate, where when you bring it to the lending institution, they will say, okay, you've already gone through this class, so now we can look at qualifying you for the grant.
Some documents that you will need to bring with you are a driver's license, income tax, your W-2 form, and a pay stub. Funds are only available for a limited amount of time. First come, first serve. Anytime you're dealing with like Project Build a Future, their funds, it's first come, first serve. So it's not going to be like, oh, it's a, money in the pot all year long. Once that money's gone, then they're going to have to try to allocate some funds some other places. First-time home buyers discuss their decisions on whether to build or buy a home.
I'm from Cameron Parish, and I applied for a housing authority grant, and I have to take this class for our first-time home buyers. I'm just starting the process. I'm looking at plans, looking at land.
We've been renting for about a year. We have 2 kids, and we've decided that it's time to own our own home, get into our own space, and so we began looking, and we've come to the conclusion that we want to buy a home, and we found the home we wanted, and we started the process and finishing the process now of purchasing the home. We got to learn a lot, so I was very excited about the class, got a lot out of it. I'd recommend it to anybody who's a first-time home buyer, especially someone of a younger age. You get a lot of information from it.
For the Parish Line, I'm Molly Morgan.
Housing counseling classes will be held throughout 2011. Check our website for dates and registration deadlines. The parish has been highlighting enforcement of litter statutes in recent years. One type of litter that is often overlooked is construction site debris. J.P. Booth tells us how the police jury has been cracking down on construction litter.
In an effort to reduce construction debris from entering our roadside ditches and parish water bodies, the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury has introduced new provisions to their stormwater ordinance, pertaining specifically to construction site litter.
We actually took our existing ordinance, the stormwater ordinance, and we had some concerns from the citizens of the parish regarding litter blowing from the construction sites, and so we found that in our existing ordinance, and we basically took that ordinance, applied it to this, and therefore that's how we came up with it.
The driving force with this was some of the complaints that we've had. We had a number of different complaints that we've had from residents that are living in the areas around where construction is taking place. There have been issues where there's a lot of debris that flies over into the neighboring yards and into the drainage ways, and any of the airborne, waterborne, those types of things, we don't want them out in the drainage or in the drainage ways causing problems, or on the roadways, or even and especially in the next door neighbor's yard. We obviously don't want that. We don't appreciate that, and neither do they. And so the intent is to try to minimize that, and it's an enforcement of the existing ordinance more stringently to control that problem.
Typically, construction litter is going to be things like waterproof Tyvek around the house, felt from roofs, and it also can be actual litter such as paper products, domestic paper products, plastic bottles and things like that. Contractors and construction guys that get on the site, they have to eat, they got to drink water, and so a lot of times those things are thrown on the ground, and it gets blown into our drainage systems and waterways, and we want to make sure those are contained and kept on site and then thrown away properly. It's unsightly. It basically you know, it's a problem when it gets into our waterways or into our drainage systems. It costs the parish money to go in there and clean those things up, and so that's a direct cost to the taxpayers, and so that's why we want to make sure that that these things are being met, and you know, that we're being prudent in the ways that we're enforcing our ordinance and you know, cleaning these things up. So.
Inspection and enforcement will be handled by the police jury's code enforcement officers and will only apply to the unincorporated areas of the parish.
The enforcement is going to be through our either our inspectors, our code enforcement officers, or our stormwater manager. And basically, we currently go out on sites now and do inspections for electrical, plumbing, building. And so, you know, we're going to be looking for those sites that are unsightly and the potential for litter to be blown you know, to our waterways and things and onto neighbors' property. So we'll give a verbal warning first is our main objective. We're not out there to stop any work, but we want to make sure people are conscious of this, and we're going to give a verbal warning first. If that doesn't work and it continues to happen, then we'll probably do a written warning. And then after that, it can be, you know, we can fine people with civil penalties up to $500 a day. We could go out there and abate the problem and charge it to the property owner or the contractor.
Generally, we would think that the stop work order, obviously the construction folks want to build, and that's time is money. So they obviously don't want that to happen. They don't want the stop work order, obviously. So we're hoping that that's as far as we will have to take it in that, you know, that they will understand that. And most of the developers have been very cooperative in when they realize what's been going on, they take the action and do what's necessary. So we're hoping that that's the case. They have received the letters notifying them that we are going to be watching a little more closely.
The folks out there are keeping their sites clean and everything. We're not out there to, again, stop people from doing work, or it's mainly litter. You know, it's not the wood products or anything like that, but it's mainly paper and things like that. So we just want to make sure that they're conscious of this and good housekeeping.
For the Parish Line, I'm J.P. Booth.
We hope you enjoyed our 2010 in review edition of the Parish Line. For details on any of these stories or to watch the Parish Line on the internet, visit our website at cppj.net. Thanks for watching and happy holidays.